Hey everybody, it's Bill from Matt-Trakker.com, and on this episode of Behind the Mask, I wanted to show you a little bit of the routine that I might go through to come up with an episode. So, and then we'll get into the actual episode, but I drive over an hour to and from work every day, and almost every day there's a certain time where I'm sitting in 15 minutes of standstill traffic. It's not a very productive time. Mostly it's full of road rage. But what I do sometimes is I'll jot down notes for episodes or and things like that if something might come to mind, I have no way of writing it down, so I just jot it down real quick. So I have this notebook with me in the car, and I do that. So a little while back, Jason of Agents of M.A.S.K and we talked about the unproduced things. Well, I wanted to kind of do a top 10 of things that I wished had happened or not happened for M.A.S.K. And I'm not including a movie. I'm not including a new series. I'm talking about what we already have in the world. So, yeah, with that being said, let's take a look at number 10. And for number 10 for me, one thing that I always wished was out there was the mask agents in their regular clothing. Similar to how Clark Kent, is in a suit, turns into Superman. These guys are doing their business, except for Alex, who always seems to be in his uniform. It would have been cool to see a nice little gimmick if they were looking to extend the line at all. And it probably wouldn't have been that much of a mold difference. They probably could have done something with it. So I wish they did that. And it just would have made it a little bit more, I guess, personal. So you can picture yourself being that person, right? And then getting the, call on your watch to go fight crime. So that's what I wish for number 10. Number 9 is a little similar to what number 10 was, except what I'm looking for are some more of the supporting characters that appeared in the show. You had Dwayne Kennedy, who I covered the custom a couple days ago. You had civilians all over the place. You had people that Matt would talk to a lot. The professor from the first episode, like there's a dinosaur boy even. You could have had that somehow. The Rotec, right? And there was kind of a missed opportunity there where you're just kind of relying on the entity itself and not the surrounding parts. So it would have been cool, especially as a kid, and now as a collector, to have unmasked figures that don't actually need a mask. It'll help you with your OCD, I think. Now, M.A.S.K had Boulder Hill. Venom had nothing. I've talked about this before. I've used the Star Wars Ewok Playhouse like in the past as Venom's hideout, and the closest they got was Outlaw. But you're a vicious, evil network essentially, and you don't have a spot you call your own. It kind of seems a little lazy. Now, I know it wasn't that way in the cartoon. They did have some base of operations in random spots, but I guess because Boulder Hill was such like a symbol, it was easier to do. But I feel like it was missed out on, and something that really should have been a part of any one of these series, to be honest. And going back to the missed opportunities that Jason and I talked about, I'm going to clump a lot of the toys together in that regard. So Shark, the Transport, Blackout, the list goes on. These were all things that were in the show, all things that had no reason not to be produced, but they weren't. Obviously, if you've followed the page, a transport jet was made by a fan. It's sold recently. Sharks are out there in custom. But the secondary things like that just didn't seem to, grab any attention at Kenner. I don't know what the thought process was, but I can tell you this: if I'm looking at the GI Joe flag. Well, that thing's a gigantic monster. If we had a to scale transport jet today's standards, it'd probably be up there in the same price range and as iconic, to be honest. So season 1 was great, right? 65 episodes, pretty good stuff. And then the transition to the racing series. I talked about this a little while ago too. I still don't know why this happened. I go into a little more detail there, but I wish it didn't happen. I wish that the two entities didn't have to drive each other the way that they did, because it didn't need it. It really didn't. And I don't know what the creative process was, but I can tell you that aside from the voice acting, everything went down. And that's really all I can say about it. It wasn't needed. Sure, it yielded some cool toys, but they probably would have been made anyway. So take it for what it's worth. So if you're not aware, there were women in M.A.S.K. Two, mostly. Three if you count the computer. All played by one person, by the way, Sharon Noble. And we didn't get Vanessa until the racing series, Series 3. And Gloria Baker didn't come out until the Split Seconds line, Series 4, and she didn't even have Shark. She's driving around in Rax's M.A.S.K. stiletto. And yes, I understand these are geared toward boys, but if my cousins who are girls wanted to play with these two, what am I going to say? You have to be, when they first came out, you have to be Buddy Hawks. No reason why, just that's you. And it's not fair to do that to your cousins, right? Maybe it is. I don't know. But it was such a huge hole in the show and in the toys that if we ever do get something again, I hope they realize that mistake moving forward. I've tossed this idea around myself. I want a documentary about M.A.S.K. I want to see it. I know the toys that made us know what M.A.S.K is, but they haven't put it on the radar yet. They've already talked with a lot of Kenner people that worked on Star Wars, and if I thought that I could do it myself, I would, but I don't have any like financial backing, I guess it would be. For me to kind of stop what I'm doing everywhere to try to get this documentary together, I would love it. I would love to learn from some of the past Kenner employees. I would love to sit down with the voice actors, the writers, the show producers. I've talked to Larry Leon. I would love to talk to him again. The theme vocalist, and there's just so many things in a documentary that, like, you would just learn out of it. A 60-minute documentary about M.A.S.K. It's something that should have been done years ago, but it hasn't. There have been a few attempts at this next one, and while Doug Stone came out to RetroCon a few years ago, I know that there was like a push to try to get them to go to one of the. It might have even just been Comic-Con, but I don't know why that fell through. But the voice actors need to do a reunion, whether it's through, internet things like Zoom or Skype. If they can get together for a panel somewhere at one of the shows, there's got to be a ton of stories from those guys and girl about the line and the run that they had on this, and I would just be fascinated to hear it, to be honest, and they deserve the recognition, and I really do hope that does happen someday. Now, be honest. How many of you listen to the M.A.S.K theme song at least once a day? If not the M.A.S.K theme song, one of the covers. You heard part of one of the covers in the opening of the show. I don't understand why a soundtrack wasn't released for this show. It has some of like the coolest running music in the show. Just the effects. There's so much to go around on that. And maybe one day, Shuki Levy will be able to do that and put one out. But man, get instrumental version of the theme, get the original version with like maybe Larry's vocals, just him singing. There's so many possibilities. Get that VENOM song. I don't know. I would buy it in a second. I don't even care what the format is. They could put it back. They could put it out on a Betamax, and I would go get a Betamax player. That's how much I want it. So hopefully that's something we can get in the future. My number one thing here is that I wish Hasbro didn't obtain the rights to M.A.S.K. Now you might be saying why, and well, the reason why is because there's no action. I feel like if a company is going to buy a property, now granted they bought other things too, but if they're going to buy a property and tease it along, why not do something with it? If you're going to sit on your hands and not do anything with it, I wish that you didn't have the property. I wish that another studio had it, that maybe would have actually acted on something, now. I'm willing to help, but I can't buy a property. I barely bought my house. So, but yeah, I wish that it didn't happen. I wish that it was still kind of in lingo. I wish it was still in limbo somewhere. But maybe something good will happen out of it, but just because of the fact that I've been saying that for a long time, I'm not hopeful. So, I don't know. Well, let me know what you think of my list. Let me know if you have another list in mind that you want to relay. Post it in the comments. I'm always curious to hear about what the fans think. And if you have any questions, let me know. Until next time, It's Bill from Matt-Trakker.com, and I'll talk to you later.
Spectrum's got